Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is Tour of Flanders 2025. Today's race, it's going to be an epic one. Again, guys, this is one of these races that I cannot do it justice. If you have time, you need to watch from at least about 160 kilometers to go when things start getting really exciting. Today's race, though, at 270 kilometers, just a hair under, I'll call it about 170 miles, with a ton of bergs and a ton of cobblestone sections in today's race, is something in the roundabout number of 23 total of both. But it's really the old Kwaremont that is the crucial moment here at Tour of Flanders. It always plays out. They pass it 3 times. With about 140 kilometers to go is the first passage. Then the second time with 55 kilometers to go, they'll pass it and do the Paterberg. Then after that, with 19 kilometers to go, they come back up to the old Kwaremont again, followed by the Paterberg again. With 13 kilometers to go, it's slightly downhill and then flat headwind into the finish. Now, when the cameras come on proper, we got an 18-rider break, and we're about 35 kilometers into the race. Yes, the cameras came on at kilometer 0, but we need to speed stuff up because there's a lot happening here at Tour of Flanders 2025. So as you see that 8-rider break, pay attention to that. But you see there's Team Ineos in that group, and we know that Filippo Ganna's been added to the roster. So Ineos were aggressive in the first part of this race. We start coming up to the first passage of the old Kwaremont, and that's when things start getting exciting, because when we back the film up for the peloton with about 165 kilometers to go, things get nervous, and it's getting curb to curb because they know they're starting to get into the exciting part, the second half of Tour of Flanders, when all of the bergs start proper. So with that in mind, the peloton's going full gas. Before that, it was always Alpecin de Koenig and UAE Team Emirates on the front controlling the peloton. Now when it's going curb to curb, you know it's getting nervous and everyone's fighting for position. The group of 8 up there have about a 4-minute gap. That was their biggest time here at Tour of Flanders. And when we go back and we look at Wout van Aert, he's taking his vest off at the car. He'll hand his vest to the Shimano car there, and then he'll slide his way back up to the peloton. He's on the left side of the peloton. Mathieu van der Poel's on the right. Masijuk is just behind Mathieu van der Poel when we see Mathieu van der Poel and his teammate trying to pass between the grass sections where they're still parking there on the side of the road. They're flying up that side, and you got to believe Masijuk, who was part of that massive crash from a few years back when he rode for Bahrain Victorious, he's watching Alpecin de Koenig's duo there with Mathieu van der Poel, the #1 plate on his back pockets there. He's watching him thinking, I don't want to relive that again. As we see Mathieu van der Poel's cutting it close through the grass there. We see the Stana rider, I believe it is, have to go through the grass. That's what I mean. It's chaos here in Belgium. When we back the film all the way up to Masijuk's crash, I told you guys then, it wasn't on purpose. It wasn't something where you need to find the riders. This is the way they race at Tour of Flanders. And you can see the #1 Dossard there made it through, but he was cutting it tight. Now we fast forward, we start hitting the first Kwaremont passage, and once we go up to Kwaremont, that's when we start seeing some problems for UAE Team Emirates. There's a crash at the back of the peloton. Niels Paulet's kind of trapped up in it, and he's held up a bit. We go over the Kwaremont, and things start getting exciting, and then we see the crash from Jonathan Narvaez. Jonathan Narvaez is a crucial tool to Tadej Pogačar because either the second passage or the third passage of the old Kwaremont, you know Jonathan Narvaez is supposed to light it up for Tadej Pogačar like he did at Milan-San Remo. Well, he's went down hard and he's tore up left side, back side, right side. He's tore up all over his body. But that's not going to be the end of the bad luck for UAE Team Emirates, because we fast forward the peloton speed just a little bit. There's a massive crash on the left side of the peloton. We'll see it's UAE Team Emirates got bumped a little bit. When he went to faded to the right, he bumps on his right shoulder, comes back to the left, hits the EF Education rider. Nothing done on purpose here. It's just racing, and it's the way it is at Tour of Flanders when you're curb to curb trying to win one of the most famous monuments in the professional world of cycling. As the UAE Team Emirates rider, though, bumped EF Education, he got caught in a little bit of the gutter there, and once he loses the front end, he takes down the whole peloton, and Mathieu van der Poel's one of the riders going down. Luckily for Mathieu van der Poel, he was all the way on the left side and went off in the grass. Not lucky for his teammates, though, because he's got a couple teammates going down around him. Ed Plankert's one of them. And then we start looking over at the fourth rider. That's Sylvain Dillier there. He didn't get caught up in the crash, but he'd been on the front for most of this race so far and was coming up the back of the peloton. So he sees, of course, his race leader, Mathieu van der Poel, going down. Mathieu van der Poel will get up quick with Ed Plankert, and then we'll see Sylvain Dillier there as they're going full gas. One more teammate will drop from the front there, and they'll start getting behind the team cars to be battling to get back up to the front because it's chaos at the front. When Mathieu van der Poel was back there in the cars and stuff, there was attacks going all over the place. And when we back up to that crash there, let me not forget, UAE team members, they got a crucial rider going down. That was Tim Wellens going down. As Tim Wellens has gone down and Florian Vermeersch have been held up, these are all crucial riders for late at the Tour of Flanders for Tadej Pogačar. Remember, Narvaez crashed first. Now we got Tim Wellens going down. Florian Vermeersch was held up too, so that we see those guys chasing full gas too. But first, we focus on Mathieu van der Poel as he comes up to the back of the peloton. Once he gets there, that's about 5-6 kilometers later, and he's attached to the back of the peloton. And we go into about 118 kilometers to go, and we see Mathieu van der Poel's made it back up to the front of the peloton. You have no idea what kind of condition he is, but he's in the front. Tadej Pogačar is up there too, but he's been isolated from time to time. Now, as we start seeing the next attacks, the real attacks happening right here that are going to set the precedent going forward, we're at about 110 kilometers to go, and we see it's Davide Ballerini from Astana throwing in attack. He's got some company because it's Thies Benoot with him, Vito Barret from Intermarché, and Stefan Kuhn's going with him. These four guys are going fast, and they're going to catch a couple of the breakaway riders that were dropped off of that group of 8. But we got another 4 guys to pay attention back there because Filippo Ganna's going up the road, and he's got Quinten Hermans, that's Albacete de Koenig, going along with him. In that group's Dan Uhl from Lidl Trek, and then Matteo Trentini's in there. Matteo Trentini's got a teammate up in that original group of 8 that's now down to 6, so they're slowing up. And Astana's got a rider up there too. So when we go back to the groups chasing back then, you see Davide Ballerini. He knows he's got a teammate in that front group. So those 6 guys are getting slowed down by the team efforts up there. Because even Team Ineos are represented up there from Connor Swift. And you got Filippo Ganna coming from the back group. Well, all these guys are going to come together with 90 kilometers to go. That's going to give us 14 riders in this front group. And now it's a threat to Tadej Pogačar because Tim Wellens has still not made it up to the front. Jonathan Narvaez is MIA at this moment. I don't think we're going to see him again. And Florian Vermeersch, well, he's going to make some appearances. But right now, Tadej Pogačar's in trouble. But he's got his teammate up there, Niels Palet, who got tied up in the first crash when we were going up to Kwaremont, has found his way back up to the front. He's pulling, and Mikkel Bjerg. Mikkel Bjerg, you are something amazing. You have been working from the beginning of this race, and now Tadej Pogačar's got to ask for you to do the final here at Tour of Flanders too, because this group of 14 riders are starting to go up the road, and Mikkel Bjerg's throwing everything into it. At one moment in time, Mikkel Bjerg got caught looking back at Tadej Pogačar, who just said, yep, let's do it because I feel good. But Tadej Pogačar is missing teammates for the end here of Tour of Flanders big time. With Mikkel Bjerg going full gas, we're going to see Mugado come up here too. And both these riders are twisting themselves inside and out, are doing some kind of super domestique work that you rarely ever see at the professional peloton. 2 riders going this deep for Tadej Pogačar. This is the kind of belief that they have that the Slovenian can win today. Well, they're doing everything they can as that group of 14 is going up the road, and the gap is extending out to about a minute's time. Now we start coming into the next section with just under 60 kilometers to go. Visma Lease bike get on the front. I do not like this tactic right now because the gap was up at about a minute's time and Visma Lease bike's going full gas. Why are they going full gas? We're nearing the Kwaremont for the second time, so they're trying to put their guys in position like Wout van Aert and Jorgensen, who are both looked fantastic so far through Tour of Flanders. Wout, who has just kept getting better and better here at the Tour of Flanders as every mile and every kilometer passes by, he just looks better and better. But the problem is, if you're riding your team full gas on the front right now, like Visma Lease bike is, you got Thies Benoot up in that front group at about 50 minutes to 110, and they're going to start dropping some time really quick. So as the gap was up to about 110, we're going to see with Visma Lease bike as we're coming into the Kwaremont, that time's going to drop all the way down to 48 seconds. Now, if you weren't pulling right there, Tadej Pogačar would have to have his team on the front, and Albacete de Koenig would have to have their team on the front. And along with UAE team members, Albacete de Koenig have been decimated from the crash and trying to get Mathieu van der Poel back on the front. It's not a time where I think you need to be on the front at this moment deep in the Tour of Flanders. You just need to fight to be at the front but not actually pull the peloton. Instead, they've taken out about 25 seconds on the front group up there of Thies Benoot as we're getting ready to start the Kwaremont for the second time. Once the race starts to Kwaremont for the proper here, we'll see at the back of the peloton as they start going up the climb. You look over to the left side of the peloton. That's Florian Vermeersch there, UAE team member. It's one of the last super domestiques right now at the front of the peloton. peloton for Tadej Pogačar, but he's about 4 rows back on the left side, and Tadej Pogačar is about 4 rows back on the right side. Well, Florian Vermeersch remembered in the riders' meeting that they needed to start this climb full gas. That was the plan. 55 kilometers to go, second pass of the Kwaremont, light it up so Tadej Pogačar can work his magic. Well, Florian Vermeersch goes to the front, tries to light it up, but guess what? Alpecin, De Koenig, and Trek and Visma Bike, they're not interested in going up this climb fast, so they just let Florian Vermeersch go up the road solo, and Florian Vermeersch is doing nothing for Tadej Pogačar at this point in time. So Tadej Pogačar has to do his own acceleration from the right side of the peloton. As he does, he's flying up to his teammate, and we start looking back on his wheel. There's no Mathieu van der Poel there. Mads Pedersen, there's Wout van Aert's in the picture, Jorgensen's in the picture, but Mathieu van der Poel is missing. He's about 9th position when we see him pop out of the front of the peloton, and then Mathieu van der Poel starts working his magic as the Netherlands rider starts just passing by riders and picking them off one at a time as he's flying by everyone to go right up to the back wheel there of Tadej Pogačar as they're getting halfway up this climb. Tadej Pogačar split, but he's still got company on his wheel. This is a problem once he gets to the top of the Kwaremont because, well, he's got no teammates with him. And he's still got a lot of guys up the road. Luckily for Tadej Pogačar, as you see him looking over here at Mathieu van der Poel, Mathieu van der Poel knows that Quinten Hermans, his teammate, got dropped out of that front group, who's now just about 10 seconds. You could kind of see him in the front of the picture right there if you look closely. That's Quinten Hermans' group up there as Mathieu van der Poel decides he's going to start working with Tadej Pogačar. Oh man, got to do some pulling with Tadej Pogačar. Okay, they're both first page riders, so Mathieu van der Poel better be good. But if I bring you back a couple years to 2023, Mathieu van der Poel had the big balls to work with Tadej Pogačar, and Tadej Pogačar lit him up here at Tour of Flanders and won his first one. But since then, of course, Mathieu van der Poel's been on a steamroll here, classic campaign, as he's won Milan-San Remo, and he's going for a record 4th win here at Tour of Flanders. So with Mathieu van der Poel pulling on the front, well, that just means you saved the day there for Tadej Pogačar. Mathieu van der Poel starts going full gas on the front. Tadej Pogačar starts doing full gas on the front. And now I'm going to fast forward things really quickly for you guys as we get into the Paterberg that just happens to be where Mathieu van der Poel starts attacking Tadej Pogačar. As he's lighting it up, we look at Jorgensen, Mads, Wout van Aert are getting gaps. Stuyven's back there too. But Tadej Pogačar and Mathieu van der Poel are flying up this climb, catching most of the remnants of the breaks, but they still got some guys in front of them. Up front, we're going to see again Mads Pedersen throwing in his attack from his breakaway companions as they went down the descent at the Paterberg. He's going to bridge up to the 2 leaders up front, but we still have a break of 7 in front of them that's being led with Filippo Ganna as he's pulling with everything to try to hold off the favorites. Then as we come out of the right corner, we see the 2 groups from behind come together. That started increasing the size of this group. Then we see Palace back there as Palace is struggling and he closes up to the gap there. But we're going to see some more excitement once we come up to the next climb, the Koppenberg, where Tadej Pogačar lights things up. This time he's got Mathieu van der Poel and Mads Pedersen on his wheel. We look behind him to see who's coming off. That's Wout van Aert, Jorgensen, Stuyvens is coming off. We see that Powell's is coming off. Davide Ballerini's coming off. Everybody's suffering from the speed up here of Tadej Pogačar, but the race is still not over. Guys are kind of working together here. They're doing half of what I told you guys on Beyond the Coverage, where you got to work together if Tadej Pogačar's lighting you up. They're not doing everything I told you guys because I would never be pulling with Tadej Pogačar, but we'll see as the groups come all back together with about 42 kilometers to go. Visma Bike have 3, Two Door Cycling have 2, Lidl Trek have 3. Okay, at this moment, they still have Tadej Pogačar with them. What is the next plan of tactics? Well, if we go back to the director sport these there for Visma Bike, in the pre-interviews days before here, he said they would attack if they have Jorgensen, if they have Thies Benoot, and if they have Wout van Aert. Well, this is the combination they have. So we see Wout van Aert throwing in attack. He throws in attack, Jorgensen throws in attack, and then Thies Benoot throws in attack. And this one's kind of a little bit of a knucklehead attack here as he's passing up the right side in the dirt. He's coming close by Tadej Pogačar, hits his back wheel hard as we got some concrete there. Once he hits that, he comes back out on the dirt. Then he has to get up onto the lip of the road and then throw an attack. The only other problem with this knucklehead attack right here is it's going uphill. And rule number 2 is you don't attack the best riders that can climb in the world when you're going uphill. You want to attack them any place else but uphill. So Tiesj Benoot's going to pay big time as we see the next attack from Tadej Pogačar with Mathieu van der Poel and Wout van Aert there. Ghana's getting dropped. We see Davide Ballerini's getting dropped. Trentine's coming out the back. And now we're coming into the Stationberg. Not the Stationberg climb, but we're coming across the station tracks there. It's famous. They use it all the time as we're coming across the tracks. Tiesj Benoot's got some problem for Visma Lease bike as his chain's off his bike. He's getting it back on, and luckily he doesn't have to stop. Then he starts sprinting, and we'll see Tiesj Benoot get back up to this elite group, but they're losing guys left, right, and center, and everybody's still working with Tadej Pogačar, attacking him in knucklehead positions. When we start looking at the next climb coming up, it's the Tannenberg. This is where Tadej Pogačar throws in a big attack, and we see Wout van Aert dropping, Stuyven's dropping, Jorgensen's dropping, Stefan Kuhn's dropping, Tiesj Benoot's coming out the back. It's an explosion at the front, and Tadej Pogačar's leading it right now at Tour of Flanders. Now, we go a little bit further with 35 kilometers to go, and Mads Pedersen, who survived the attack there of Tadej Pogačar, he's rotating through. He's rotating through with Mathieu van der Poel and Tadej Pogačar. This is ridiculous. We look at the back, we see it's 3 Visma Lease bike guys and Stuyven sitting on, because Mads Pedersen, I told you, is rotating up front in that group of 3. With Stuyven sitting on and Stefan Kuhn in that group, who's actually starts rotating through, we start seeing some knucklehead tactics from Visma Lease bike. As we first see Jorgensen throwing in attack, and then Stefan Kuhn has to fight to close it. Then we see another attack from Wout van Aert, and Stefan Kuhn again has to close it, but it's coming down the descent into the right turn with 30 kilometers to go, and then it's the Kruiserberg starting. With the Kruiserberg starting, Wout van Aert has got a little bit of gap back there on Stefan Kuhn, his 2 teammates, and Stuyven's. Then we go up front. Tadej Pogačar still trying to accelerate. Mathieu van der Poel still locked on his wheel. But Mads Pedersen's coming off the back. As Mads Pedersen's coming off the back of the Kruiserberg, we look back. Wout van Aert is closing the gap up with Stuyven's. That means we're going to get 2 Lidl treks together and Wout van Aert. But we got Mathieu van der Poel and Tadej Pogačar going full gas at the front. Will they work together? It looks like they're working together. But then we look further back as we see Wout van Aert's got some company and went with that attachment back there from Mads Pedersen dropping and Stuyven's holding on to his wheel. It's getting interesting because we're coming back up to the Kwaremont. As we start getting a little bit closer, we're coming into 23 kilometers to go, and we see the group of 3 catch back up to the group of 2. Now we got 5 riders up here. Now, to my disbelief, when they're coming down the descent, Wout van Aert goes to the front of the group. That's Tiesj Benoot, Jorgensen back there, and we see they're pulling Stefan Kuhn, who's actually rotating through as Wout van Aert's right in the front. Now, we're just coming into the Kwaremont, and we see Wout van Aert throw an attack proper. I don't like this move. He's got his 2 teammates coming in the back. He's already been pulling on the front. Now he wants a little bit of lead time into Old Kwaremont on Tadej Pogačar and Mathieu van der Poel. Well, we see Mathieu van der Poel right away, does not hesitate, pulls a little bit, and then we start the Old Kwaremont for the last and final time here of the 25 Tour of Flanders. We got Wout van Aert going up the road. Mathieu van der Poel's pulled over, and Tadej Pogačar has started to accelerate. With his acceleration, he closes straight back up to the back wheel there of Wout van Aert, and then just continues on the pedals. With him continuing on the pedals, Mathieu van der Poel's holding on, but he's locked on. Everyone else is coming off the back. Mads Pedersen, Wout van Aert's coming off the back. Stuyven's coming off the back, but Tadej Pogačar's throwing down, and then Mathieu van der Poel explodes. His legs blow up here on the last passes of Old Kwaremont. Tadej Pogačar's flying up the climb. He's gaining time on everybody right now as we see Mathieu van der Poel blowing. Then we see Wout van Aert, Mads Pedersen, and Stuyven's catch up to him. Those 4 guys are working together. We still got a shot to have a nail biter here at Tour of Flanders if they can work some magic, but the Slovenian's working his own magic right now, dishing it out, painfully so, to the 4 chasers behind, as Tadej Pogačar's cresting the top with about a 20-25 second gap on the riders behind. He knows he's got a chance here, but he still has the Paterberg in front of him. He accelerates over the top of the summit here. We see the 4 riders coming over the top through the left turn. We see Stuyven's is hanging off the back, but he'll fight to get back on. Then Tadej Pogačar, as the cameras find him again, and he starts to Paterberg, he's got that 25-second gap, and he's throwing everything into the pedals because he knows this is the last and final climb right here of the 25 Tour of Flanders. As he's throwing everything into it, we hope and pray that some of the classic big-time specialists back there, they'll be working together all the way to the finish, but Tadej Pogačar's got other plans. You start seeing him as he gets into 10 kilometers to go, stretching out the time even further. Gets into 5 kilometers to go, so we're getting up to 40 seconds. He's over there throwing down on the pedals. The four chasers back there are doing everything they can. We go further back to about 1 minute and 40 seconds. We see it's Thies Benoot. We see the American Jorgensen there, and Kuhn. Kuhn is still pulling through for FDJ as these three riders are trying to get a top 10 position too. Now the cameras go back up front to Tadej Pogačar as he's coming into 1K to go and extended out the time to over 50 seconds. You know the Slovenian's going to win his second Tour of Flanders here in 2025. He'll ran the last and final corner. Then we go back and find the four chasers back there. We see Jasper Stuyvens throws in an attack at about 1.2 kilometers to go. Quickly, Mathieu van der Poel's on it and shuts it down. Then the cameras come back up to Tadej Pogačar as he starts to celebrate his victory here. A magnificent 8th monument for the young kid from Slovenia that rides for UAE Team Emirates. He'll cross the line with arms raised up high as he wins his second Tour of Flanders for UAE Team Emirates, and then comes into the arms of his team staff there and celebrates victory here at Tour of Flanders. Behind, what's happening with the group of four to decide out the podium position? Well, Jasper Stuyvens doing the lead out for his teammate Mads Pedersen as he comes into 250 meters to go. Mads kicks hard, moves from the left side of the road to the right. Mathieu van der Poel's trying to close up on the back wheel, but when we look at the helicopter angle, well, he's a little bit too far off the back wheel of Mads Pedersen. Then we look behind Mathieu van der Poel, we see that's Wout van Aert. As we look up front, Mads Pedersen crosses the line in second. Then Mathieu van der Poel rounds out a podium here at Tour of Flanders. Wout van Aert, a remarkable comeback here at Tour of Flanders to get fourth here. Fifth on the stage would be Jasper Stuyvens. And then we look back and see what's happening back there. Well, if I back the film up just a little bit to about 2.5 kilometers to go, we'll see that Jorgensen got blown off the back there. So as we see two riders coming into the picture, it's going to be Thies Benoot that wins the next spot, followed there by Stefan Kuhn to round out their position. And then the peloton is wrapping up Jorgensen coming down the finish line here as we see Filippo Ganna win the sprint amongst the peloton. Now, tactically, what did I think? Okay, there's a ton of knuckleheads out there. It's just that way, guys. They're pulling with Tadej Pogačar. When we look at Lidl-Trek, when they got three riders in the group and they're attacking up the climb, and that drops Dan Uhl that was bridged across to that break originally with about 110 kilometers to go, you don't want to attack on the climbs. Okay, it's Flanders, so there's not a whole lot of flat sections, but attack someplace other than the steeper parts of the climb. Or better yet, don't work with Tadej Pogačar at all if you're three Visma Lease bike and your three Lidl-Treks and there's two two-door cycling guys in that group. Sit up, let the peloton come back together, because guess what? When we went over the second passage of Old Kwaremont, the only UAE Team Emirates rider I saw was Florian Vermeersch, and he was in about the middle of the peloton. And then after those guys came through, Niels Palet was dropped off the back. So if the group comes back, you got more teammates back there. You have more numbers to play with, more chaos that Tadej Pogačar can't watch. If you're attacking the #1 ranked rider in the world, the closest thing that I've ever witnessed to Eddie Merckx, and if you're attacking him on the climbs, it's too easy for him to follow. So you have to attack him any place other than the climbs, as I already said many, many times, because that's the number two rule on the butterfly effect. The #1 rule on the butterfly effect, of course, is stay with your teammates. So when Wout van Aert was back there at times, when Tadej Pogačar was still attacking and Thies Benoot was up the road, Thies Benoot needed to immediately drop back for Jorgensen and Wout van Aert and tow those guys up there so that they can save their legs. And certainly once you get back to Tadej Pogačar, let the group get bigger. If the group gets bigger and you have more teammates back there, you have a chance that you can get one of your second-tier teammates up the road in another group than Tadej Pogačar has to chase with you sitting on his wheel. Instead, you're attacking him in the wrong places, and it's too easy for him to cover. And then Mathieu van der Poel, well, you attacked on the Paterberg. I mean, the first time at the Paterberg, you attacked the best rider in the world, who's the best climber in the world, and you attacked him on the steepest climb here at Tour of Flanders. So all you guys lost. Congratulations, Tadej Pogačar, for our second victory here at Tour of Flanders. It was magnificent. There was a bunch of knuckleheads back there, but all of them were exciting to watch, and this was a fantastic race. So go back and watch from 160 kilometers to go, because I left out details all over the place. But Tadej Pogačar said in his interview he is ready for Paris-Roubaix, and with this kind of form, why not go? I agree. Why not go unless it starts raining and it's a really crazy day? Otherwise, if it's dry, Tadej Pogačar, why not do Paris-Roubaix? Go for it. Try to get that other monument that's still missing from your resume so you can start becoming the next Eddie Merckx. You're already there in my book, but somebody's always going to argue that if you don't win Paris-Roubaix, well, you didn't beat Eddie Merckx. So go ahead and go get it. Mathieu van der Poel said in his interview, Paris-Roubaix is going to be a much easier race than Tour of Flanders. So like and subscribe. I'll see you guys next week on the Butterfly Effect for Paris-Roubaix.